One day, we will wake up to find that the energy that powers the alarm clock came from the breeze through the trees the night before. And we will go to work that morning riding the rays of the sun. It will light our cities and power our businesses. It will warm our homes and cool our workplaces. It will reduce sources of conflict and fuel our economies. It will connect us all. It won't scar the land or poison the seas. The food we eat will be good for our bodies and good for the planet. And the weather that day won't make us worry for tomorrow. There will be more jobs and less disease. The sea level will stop rising. And species will stop dying. The question is, how do we get to that day from where we are today?
My internship consisted of manual labor creating and administering surveys and researching environmental laws. The manual labor portion of my internship consisted of weeding, planting, tapping trees for maple syrup, and digging out Japanese thornbush, an invasive species that was suffocating the native plants. This was a very difficult and painful task because these plants are covered in thorns. My most productive activity was creating and administering surveys about what people knew about the environment and ways to take care of it. This survey was 50 questions long and took 5 to 10 minutes to take. The results were shocking. Over 70% of all people who took the quiz got below a 50%. As a result of the quiz, 63% of people claimed they would learn more and be more mindful about the environment.
Each of us all across this great land has a stake in maintaining and improving environmental quality, clean air and clean water, the wise use of our land, the protection of wildlife and natural beauty, parks for all to enjoy. These are part of the birthright of every American. To guarantee that birthright, we must act, and act decisively. It is literally now or never. During the past 3 years, we have made a good start. We have passed new laws to protect the environment, and we have mobilized the power of public concern. But there is much yet to be done. 18 of the major environmental proposals which I put forward a year ago have still not received final action by the Congress. I repeat today my urgent request for congressional action on this much-needed legislation.
Several old acts passed by Congress are fundamental environmental protection legislation. The most important is the Clean Air Act. One of the major provisions of the 1970 amendment was the phase-out of lead-based gasoline. By 1995, the percentage of U.S. children with elevated levels of lead in their blood had dropped from 88% to 4%, according to the data compiled by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In 2002, a report by the Journal of American Medical Association credited the Act's automobile emission regulations with reducing carbon monoxide-related deaths, saving 11,700 lives between 1968 and 1998. Another important environmental protection act is the Endangered Species Act. The greatest success of the ESA, signed into law by President Richard Nixon on December 28, 1973, is that no species has gone extinct after being listed. In simple terms, the act contains two classifications: endangered species and threatened species. The first are at the brink of extinction now. The latter are likely to be at the brink in the near future. Signed in 1987, revised 7 times, and ratified by 196 nations, the Montreal Protocol, officially known as the Montreal Protocol on Substances that Deplete the Ozone Layer, has been hailed as perhaps the single most successful international agreement to date by Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the United Nations. 1.5 million cases of skin cancer, 330,000 cancer deaths, 129 million cases of cataracts. That's a tally of human suffering the world is avoiding by implementing this treaty. The Clean Water Act, CWA, establishes the basic structure for regulating discharges of pollutants into the waters of the United States and regulating quality standards for surface waters. The basis of the CWA was enacted in 1948 and was called the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, but the act was significantly reorganized and expanded in 1972. Clean Water Act became the act's common name, with amendments in 1972. Under the CWA, the EPA has implemented pollution control programs such as settling wastewater standards for industry. We have also set water quality standards for all contaminants in surface waters. The CWA made it unlawful to discharge any pollutant from any point source into navigable waters, unless a permit was obtained. It seems as if the government is very involved in protecting the environment. However, most of these laws were passed in the 70s and 80s and have remained untouched since then. The government has done a shockingly poor job of improving legislature to protect the environment. The Conservation League's Congressional Report Card found that the 112th Congress of the United States was the worst in terms of environmental protection in history. In a year filled with record-breaking heat waves, droughts, wildfires, and massive hurricanes, it is clear that there must be more emphasis placed on protecting the environment. There are many things that the government can do to protect the environment. For one, the key environmental legislation can be updated and amended. These laws were made several decades ago and are not suitable to the modern environment. Secondly, the government can create and enforce stricter regulations on pollution and regulating large companies like Monsanto, a company that has a monopoly on genetically modified soybeans. However, despite the obvious need for new legislation, our government is focused on a variety of issues, and a severe lack of bipartisanship prohibits anything from getting done. This means that environmental protection is most efficient through local initiatives. Local communities have lots of potential power to protect the environment. The United States creates the most trash per day per capita in the world. Every day in the US, we produce enough trash to equal the weight of the Empire State Building. And, to make matters worse, a study found that only 67% of this trash is actually recycled. According to a study performed by the EPA, we need 5 planets to sustain our population if every human on Earth lived like the average American. The task of fixing and preserving the Earth cannot be achieved by one person or one bill. There are many things you individually can do that will make a difference. For one, use less stuff and produce less trash. And when you do produce trash, recycle. Second, donate your secondhand clothes and goods to a shelter. Third, pick up litter and trash from outside. The most powerful method, however, is by educating yourself and others. If we want to stop damaging our environment, everybody must do their part. In just 30 hours at Drumlin Farm, I feel as though I made a significant difference in the world around me. Whether it be educating other people, manually removing invasive species, or picking up trash, I felt as though I made a difference. These are all small tasks that can be done by anyone. Although the government has protected the environment in the past, it is yet to update the legislator, making it out of date. The government is too focused on other areas to make a significant difference. The initiative must come from you and your community. If I can make a difference in just 30 hours, imagine what the entire class could do if they spend 30 hours working to better the environment. It is this mindset we must have moving forward in order to protect the environment.